Talking of fun golf, last week it was LIV in Adelaide, and my goodness, the Australians were excited to have LIV Golf in their country.
Yeah, I watched it, Diane, up early in Florida. I was down there watching it. Cam Smith, obviously, and Mark Leishman, the two heroes of Australia. Aussies love their golf anyway. The Grange Golf Club in Adelaide is one of the best courses around. I mean, it's, sandbelt style, beautiful. If you saw any on TV, you'd be able to appreciate that. But Diane, 80,000 people, that the 12th hole, the watering hole, had a same feel as number 16 at WM Phoenix Open. Lots of crazy stuff going on there. Chase Koepka had a hole-in-one on Sunday. They all threw the beers on the greens, and there was celebrities there hitting shots. And we've talked about this on this show. LIV now has made it. They've actually now showcased what's possible in a singular event, and we're calling this one is that was the whole product. What I mean by that is you take a bunch of good players, 30 or 40, 48 in this case, down to Australia. Okay, let's call it what it is. 30 really good players. Mm-hmm. People are excited to see these people. They haven't seen any of these good players up close. They showed up, 80,000 people on Sunday. Wow. It shows me this about this model, Diane. If they go around the world, we talked about this last week, if they go around the world and find these golf-starved places, whether it's Mexico or Chile or some of the places in Europe, that product, Diane, is going to do well. Where all the contention comes is when LIV and the PGA Tour play at the same time in America. And I think LIV maybe learned a lot last weekend about where their product is going to work and where it is not. And it was, honestly, it was good stuff to watch. I loved it. And
you had said before that it was going to be so welcomed by the Australian golf fans, and it showed. They were out there. There was that real party atmosphere. They obviously love Greg Norman too. I mean, he's like a sporting icon in Australia, so I'm sure there's like a real level of support for him and going out there and kind of worshipping him in a way. And then there was the fun 12th hole, as you said, Chase Koepka getting his ace, and the fans were obviously loving it. It was very similar to the WM Phoenix Open, and I've seen a lot of back and forth on Twitter about people saying, oh, well, they've ripped off the PGA Tour. And the usual, there's always going to be these compare and contrast. I want to ask you about a shoey. Is this an Australian thing? A shoey?
It's a new thing where you fill up your shoe with whatever drink you have, and you got to drink it in front of your mates. So called a shoey. But one of the things they said when they copied the PGA Tour, one of the things that they haven't copied from the PGA Tour, Diane, is they kind of let the fans do what they want. If you notice, there was no gallery ropes around the greens. They let the crowd get right to the edge of the green. They let them come in behind the players when they're coming up the last few holes. No gallery ropes. Everybody's like, hey, just stay away from the players a few feet, and you're going to see all the action. Has to be amazing atmosphere when you think about it. They had the top concert there I saw some videos of the 50, 60,000 people on Saturday night and enjoying the concert. So it's a different product. There's no doubt about it. You and I went to the Chainsmokers together at TPC Sawgrass, and that was cool. But I think last week was even cooler with 50,000 people there and Cam Smith doing a shoey on the stage with the DJ.
I'd never heard of a shoey before. I thought, is this an Australian thing? And they LIV being in Singapore this week, same thing, that they're getting to go and target a different golf audience.
Yeah, and I think, as I say, that model, I think, is going to change a little bit. I think if they're smart, which they know what they got now, so they've seen what's possible. Now, can they duplicate that in 10, 12 places around the world? It's going to be a smash hit, Diane. There's going to be more players that want to be on LIV. I mean, last week is a perfect example. There was 100. I think you and I discussed last week. There was 160 guys played at New Orleans. I think it was 80 teams. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Only 30 teams made the cut. 60 guys.
Yeah.
130 guys went home with $0 last week, and a lot of people don't realize that. By the time you get down there, Diane, you spend a bunch of money. there's a lot of guys made $0. And I think if you're a tour player and you're not in that elevated category where you're in those elevated events next year, Diane, 20 million, you're back here playing for 8. Is there going to be a move, do you think, of another dozen guys that are going to move over to LIV that are just right around there where they're going to get that guarantee every week?
Well, Greg Norman has said that sometimes these interviews, sound bites are maybe blown out of proportion and misconstrued, but he did allude to the fact that there's some big names that are interested in LIV that he's maybe having talks with who might be moving across. And then, of course, we have the PGA Tour who gave us more detail about the kind of fall series. And after the top 70 are locked in, after the playoffs, these other events are going to take place for the rest of the guys to better their number and keep their card. So to me, I like what they have announced. I think it's going to work well. But as you say, the top 70 is that golden number for these guys to really be in the money, and that's the place they want to be. So the guys that are maybe falling out of that a little bit, that maybe are injury prone, maybe they think that they're coming to the end of their career, but they're still high profile names and great golfers. I don't know, maybe the opportunity to maybe get over to LIV is super appealing to them because it's guaranteed money.
Well, yeah, let's take a guy, for example. I just was with this guy last weekend, didn't talk to him about LIV or anything else, but let's take a guy like Ricky Fowler, who is a really good player, a really top brand. And is he getting, super benefits of playing in these $8 million events, making the cut with his family? Or would he be someone that could go to LIV and they pay him a huge amount of money and he could be showcased across the world? He's very popular with young players. I mean, if they're going to bring a lot of kids into golf, I saw all the kids, they had a fan appreciation piece on LIV last week where all the kids were down there dying. They had an artificial beach made where the kids could play. If I was playing on tour and my kids could go to a beach at the course, that'd be pretty cool. They also had the peel-on tattoos of all the different teams. So it's different. And there's no doubt about that. Is there music playing? Yes, it's 54 holes, but the gallery doesn't have to be quiet either. So imagine, let's say we turn the music off and the gallery's still allowed to be quiet. Would either one bother you? So music, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, and last weekend, the atmosphere looked great. I think you'd be crazy to not want to be there. Like, it looked like a lot of fun. The name I think about right now is Willzalators, who was apparently offered, like $130 million to go to LIV, turned it down. We know that Zalatoris had a procedure a couple of weeks ago, and he's going to be out for the rest of the season. I mean, like, that's a tough one in that he could have signed before. I don't know what would have happened and what the kind of pay structure was, but that has to be a bit of a scary time for him.
Yeah, but LIV doesn't want to hurt Zalatoris either. They want to fit and strong Zalatoris. So LIV doesn't want to sign players that aren't great either, or that great, or they want healthy players. So I think the model's going to go around the world, Diane. They're going to pick these cool sites. They're going to use Adelaide as the model. One of the things about Australia is the government got involved in Australia. The South Australian Premier of that state decided, you know what, we're going to go for this product. We're going to do it. And they brought in so much money into the businesses that people in Adelaide, yes, it was a good event. Yes, a lot of people have attended. But now Adelaide is booming with what, these 90,000 people brought to the table and how much money they spent in that town. I had two friends of mine from Wagga. They drove all the way down to Adelaide. They said it was the best golfing event. They go to all the events. They said it was the best golfing event ever in the history of Australia, just because of the quality of players and the atmosphere that was done there at the Grange. The golf course, too, was a star last week. So you need that, too.
An all-round success for LIV last week, 100%.